Hi all, welcome to the channel, welcome to the workshop. We now have the next 4 stages of build kit from Knight Rider. But before we get on to that, I'm just going to mention that I have managed to tidy up the workbench. Also done a bit of a rearrange, so the 3D printer has now been moved over to the corner. And I've got a lot more space here, and my studio space is a lot tidier and should be much easier to put builds and just basically show you guys what I'm doing. So let's get on and build. Right, so we've got issues 47 to 50. We're going to start off, obviously, issue 47. The reason I've got the car over at the moment is because the first thing we're going to be doing is undoing some of the work we've done last time. So one of the things we need to do is we're going to be removing some of the cables that we put in for testing purposes, and we're going to be starting work on a little bit of the interior, and we're going to need the dash from issue 4, as well as the binnacle behind the steering wheel, and we're going to be wiring all of that up. So let's get on and do that. So the first cable they want us to unplug is the one labelled D. Now I have tied all these cables up, so I'm just going to undo my wire tie. So just find cable D. Now this is this one here. And that is a yellow and black cable. So cable D. And that's the one with the little switch on the end. So that's the first one we need to remove. Now what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to remove all the cables first, because then we don't need the car after this. Because they've got D and we need to put it in this little bracket, but I'll do that in just a moment. The other cables we need to remove are G, H, I, J, L. So let's do that. Starting with cable G, need H. Sometimes it's a little bit easier just to look at the board as opposed to the try and find where the label is on the cable. So H. I. I is the four red and black ones together with the little SMDs on the end. And J, which is this yellow and black one with 3 LEDs. We need L, which is this green and yellow one, which has 2 LEDs on it. And finally we need O, which is another red and black cable with 2 LEDs. So now I've taken those cables out, I'm going to move the car to one side. Right, so the first thing we're going to be doing, we're going to be getting the brake light switch. We're going to be getting this little bracket, and we're going to be placing that just in there like so. And then we're going to take this and we're going to place it behind this section here. So I'm going to do it from this side. You've got a little peg just on here, and that peg's going to go into this hole. And the brake switch is going to just show through like that. There is a small space with that peg, and that's where an AP screw is going to be going to hold that in place. And that'll go in just like that. You can see the button is just there, making sure it still clicks. Perfect. And we're going to bring over the dash, looking just like that. Now I have painted behind on top of these, so you get a little bit less light bleed. And I've also put some tape behind the dashboard here, so the Pursuit and normal cruise hopefully do not light up so much, so it will look like it's just in auto cruise. And you may notice that the voice box itself is looking a lot more red. And what I've done with that, I've actually put a little bit of translucent red behind this, so that it just looks a little bit better and probably a little bit more like the Series 1 as opposed to Series 2. So that's what I've done. But for now, we need to move on. And the first thing it wants us to do is actually do a bit of disassembly. So we're just removing these two screws here. And we're going to be taking out this section. Now, I'm just going to put that to one side. And now we're going to need the cables we removed from kit earlier. This one is labelled H. And we're going to be placing them just in the two holes that you can see just here. And they would just push in. Just like that. We're also going to need the LED labelled G. And that one is going to go into the hole just here. Like so. Next we're going to get the cable labelled O. And this is going to go into the voice box and startup panel, which are these two holes here. Push those in like that. And then we need cable labelled L, which is this yellow and green cable. And they are going to go into the two holes for this display here, which are these displays just here. This is where you might need a pair of tweezers just to help you get the LEDs in place. I'm just routing the cables the same way they show on the picture, which is through these two posts here and this one around this post here. And then again with these ones, we're just going to tidy those up as well and hopefully run them the same way. So it looks like these red ones all need to come through just there. And then we've got these ones that just come out like that. So yeah, at something that looks like that. Right. Next we need cable J. We need the part we removed earlier. And we're going to be placing two of the three LEDs into this. And then we're going to be placing this back into the location, remembering to line up these two holes on the two pegs. Going to make sure those wires are kept together so we don't squash them with the screw holes. And then when we put it back on, this cable here, this LED, is going to go into this section here. So let's just put this one back first. So making sure that these the red cables are there, because this will hold them in place. Put that back in place and replace the two screws that we took out earlier. So that is now looking just like that. So this one needs to come over here and pop in there. So that's now looking like that, with all the wires coming out and actually bunching up just like that. I'm going to put that to one side, and we're going to get another part that we got from issue 4, which was this part. And again, we're going to be disassembling a bit of this, so we're going to take the back cover off here. And that's just 2 screws again. That comes out just like that. We're going to leave it face down because we're going to be placing in these SMDs into the space here. So making sure that the SMDs sit nicely into these channels. Right, that's quite tricky putting those in there and keeping them in place while training this cable out. So what I've done, as you can see, I've just put some electrical tape to hold them in place as I got them in the right place. There is what looks to be a little screw hole post here, and you can see on this there is also a corresponding hole. So I've made sure that the cables trail round underneath that post and won't get trapped, and the same on this side. And then I'm running the cable up and above these 2 holes here and then through here. Then once we've done that, we just need to get our backing piece. We're going to be just pushing that back into place like that, and we're going to be resecuring those 2 screws. And yes, indeed, they're going to want us to put 2 AP screws in there now as well. So that is now looking just like that, with the cable nice and free to come out the top like that. We now need to bring over the dash again, because we're going to be attaching this to the dashboard. And they've got the cable coming over just like this. We're going to be lining it up on the voice box just like that. And then we're going to be securing that with 2 GP screws. So that is now looking just like that. And that's all there is to do in stage 47. Now, before I move on to issue 48, I have realised that I did forget to put the tape over these connections here. So the little bit of tape that we got in issue 47, we just need to make sure these 2 LEDs are taped in place. Just like that. And then we'll resecure that back in place. First thing we need to do for issue 48 is we're going to be getting this part of the dashboard, and we're going to be placing it just in here with the curved side facing towards the dash, and we're going to be lining it up so that it's sitting on these holes just here with these pegs here. It's got a bit of a shape to it here, and it needs to slot behind this, so we need to just make sure that goes not straight down but sort of curves into place. And we need to obviously make sure that all the wires that we have here, none of them are going to get trapped or pulled out. That's now sat in there, and we're just going to be securing that with several BP screws. And that's now secured in there just like that. So 1 screw there, 1 there, another one there, there, and there on the end. Next we're going to be getting this triangular piece, which is the console cover apparently, and that's going to be sitting just in here. Now, there are a couple of little flat lugs here, and there's a single screw hole, and we're just going to be placing that over those lugs just like that, and then we're going to be securing it from the back with another BP screw, just like that. Now what they want us to do is actually remove this screw here. Take that screw out. Right, so then we're going to get this piece here, and we're going to be placing that just over there, and we're going to be using a GP screw in the hole where we remove the other screw. I'm going to push that in place. That's obviously going to be bending a few of these wires. If it doesn't go straight away, you might want to bend them yourself a little bit, but holding that in place, and then use a GP screw just to secure that in place. Next, we're going to get another part from issue 4 and 5, I think it was, because we finished it in 5, and that's the steering wheel. I haven't seen that for a while, have we? And we're going to be placing that into the dash. Now, I think we've all wanted to do that since the day we got it. So that is looking pretty good, isn't it? So now we're going to be hopefully securing that in place. And to do that, we're going to need these parts here and that little part there. Now, this is probably where you're going to need 3 or 4 hands, because what we need to do, we need to put that in there. But that we also need to grab this section and sandwich those two together. And we're going to be securing those together with a BP screw. We then have this section and this section that we need to assemble. And we've got a lug and a screw hole on the bottom of here, and we've got to put it over here. So that's just going to sit on just like that. And we're going to be securing that from behind with a BP screw. And now we have a little bit of fun to do, because we're going to be securing that just on there like so. And again, that's going to be 2 BP screws to hold that in place. Just tighten those up. And now what we need to do is flip the entire assembly over like that. Push that up into the control column there, and then position this over the little standoffs we've got in here, just like that, ensuring that the control column is looking like that, so it's pointing out the right direction, and make sure that this is all lined up like that. And then we're going to need 2 more BP screws in these 2 holes, 3 holes, to secure that in place. So the dash assembly is now looking just like that. And that's the end of stage 48. So now at issue 49, these are all the parts we get. You know you're going to have lots to do when you get bags and bags of screws. So let's see what we have to do. We need these 2 parts here, and we're going to be assembling those together. And they're just going to go just like that. And we're going to be using BP screws to hold those in place. Just like that. And I'm going to bring the dash back over. And this is going to go in this section just here. place it again over these two lugs just here. Just like that. Make sure it all lines up with the rest of the dash. And then we're going to use two CP screws to secure that in place. Now we need to grab another wire from the car, and that's the one that's labelled F. So here we are, it's labelled F. So this is the multicoloured cable, 4 cables, and it has 2 LEDs on the end. And we're going to need the section we did earlier, which is this one. Can move that one to one side for a moment. Now what we need to do is we need to pull these cables apart a little bit, and then we're going to be passing one through the hole on that side and one through the hole on this side there, so they stick out just like that. Now once we've done that, we're going to just train these cables just so that they sit in here and they exit around about where this screw hole is. And we're going to be getting the 3 cable clips that came with this issue, and we're going to be placing them in these spaces just here. Now they've got a lug, a hole and a little bracket, and the lug goes in the far hole, the screw's going to go in this hole, and then the bracket sits over this little lip. So you want to make sure that all the cables sit between those 2 holes there, just like that. And then we're going to be securing those with some AP screws. So just putting the last one in, just like that. So that's the cables trailing out there. So we've got the brake cable and the 2 interior light cables, just like that. And we've got a little bit of slack and flex on them for one of the next stages. So the next stages, we're going to be joining this to the rest of the dashboard. Right, so we're going to be attaching this to the rest of the dashboard with a single BP screw, which is going to go onto this post here, and it's going to go in this way around. And that's just going onto that post just like that. We've got the cables trailing out the centre just here. I'm going to put those to one side for a second, and we're going to bring over these 2 parts, and we're going to bring over the light lenses. Now these are going to go just to here, like so, and we're going to be securing them from the front with 2 BP screws. So that's looking just like that. Do the exact same thing on this side. Again, we'll match up the contour. That one just like that. Now these are marked left and right, as you can see, so we're going to need to know that for the next stage. So we're going to be starting off this side, which is the left side. So this is held in by a single CP screw, which will be going into this little lug here, just like that. but they also want us to secure this dash in place with a BP screw in this hole just here. So I'm going to, before I put that in, I'm going to do the dash and do the BP screw first. So just lining that up and putting that screw in just like that. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Just there. So now that back plate is securely held in. So going back to the left side and getting our CP screw. I'm going to place that just on there, and then our CP screw is going to go through the top here into that dashboard. And we're going to be placing this LED into the light socket, and then we do the exact same thing on the right hand side. So again, on that lug, CP screw, just in there. And again, the LED just pushed in like so. Now I'm just going to bend those pins up and push the excess cable in like that. I'm just going to do the same on this side here, so that's nice and flat. And that is all there is to do in stage 49. Right, finishing up with issue 50. After all of that amount of work, we're finishing off with something quite simple. It looks like the starting of the centre console. We've only got 4 pieces and some AP screws. So the first thing we're going to be doing is placing this just in there like so. Just want to make sure it's the correct way up. So you've got the knob here in line with the rest of the controls just there. We're going to secure that from the back with a couple of AP screws. Just like that. We then don't touch that anymore, so that goes to one side. We're going to get this piece here, this little piece here, and we're going to be placing it over the end in this little indent, just like that, and we're going to be securing that with an AP screw. Just like that. And that is all there is to do in stage 50. And that is the end of that pack. Well, that's a fun part of the build. A little bit fiddly, a little bit frustrating, but at the end of the day, we have an absolutely fantastic looking dash. If you enjoyed that video, please remember to give me a thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, please remember to also hit that subscribe button. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you around.